Hello everyone, I'm Rob Smith. It's Smith of the Black with the weekend vid, and today we're going to keep it short and sweet because we got we call exhaustion risk. And so people always ask me what that is, and I'm like, well, anytime you go into a lower low here by price, you don't have any more pivots to take out, right? So we always want to have pivots to take out. So that's exhaustion risk to the downside here by price. Anytime you go into the highs here, stuff like that, but also by time. And what I mean by that is we're running out of month. This is the last week of the month, and we're an inside month. So if we go to the weekly SPY here, right? So we had the rev strap 1, 2, 2 up, right? But then exhaustion risk, it's Friday, and they might have done what they were going to do. You're having a nice little week, and then they can take some profits here. So you're running out of week by time, right? So that's what I mean by that. So exhaustion risk coming up in the monthlies with so many inside months and so much news coming out this week, earnings and Fed and all that kind of stuff. And that's pretty much what I'm just going to go through. If we go to QQQ, a little bit closer to taking the inside month to the upside. So that's what we want to be looking for. As I talked about in the Strat Time report today, is like when you come into a Friday, I want to see how things are setting up for next week. When I come into the end of the month, I want to see how things are setting up for next month. Right now, a lot of more things are closer to going 2-1-2 back up on the month, but it could be a volatile week, so we'll have to see how that goes. Apple took that 2 down, 2 up month. You're just running out of month. Right, so here once again had a nice little week and then a little profit takey here on Friday, and Apple earnings are coming out on Thursday. So we'll see. That's still at that point going to be 2 down, 2 up month as long as it stays above this. But we'll let them open. We'll let those numbers come out. But we always want to see how these things close out, because the good thing for Apple here is that you're nowhere near taking out this month's lows. Right, coming into August, nowhere near doing that. All right, so that's a good thing for Apple. And like I said, if we go back to SPY here, you're nowhere near taking out these lows. You're much closer to being a 2-1-2 to the upside. So we're going to pay attention to that unless there's some debacle from all these earnings. If we go to small cappers, inside month, but once again, closer to taking this out. And that's what we always want to know. And then we break it down to the weeklies and saying, although we backed off on a Friday, we're also nowhere near taking these out. It doesn't mean we can't do it, but that's what we want to know about. That's why you'll hear me always say, what's the next two, right? What are we closer to doing? And on the twos. So far, on the monthlies, a lot of things closer to taking out the highs. If we go to TLT, inside week to the upside. Our monthly, coming into the new month, slight 2 down, 2 up, but once again, closer to taking this out to the upside. All right, so that's what we'll be paying attention to. And so next weekend, you'll have the macro vid, and then we'll take a look and see how all these things finished out, right? But we always want to know how much closer we are to whatever the next 2 is, or do we try and go 2 and fail 3? But most things are much closer to taking out this month's highs coming into August. If we go to the Dow Jones Diamonds, same deal. Inside month, but closer to taking that out to the upside, right? Little profit takey Friday. Here's your week. Took that up. Still closer to taking out the highs. And so the question is, when you come in next week, a lot of things because of Friday profit taking also are closer to taking out today's lows to start off the week. So that's something I'd want to know about too, because SPY backed off but couldn't make it here to the outside day, just like here. And then it went gangbusters here. So we'll see how that goes. Qs did go outside day, so they did make it, and we knew the tech was a little weaker today, and so just going to look through the earnings. Microsoft coming out on Tuesday, and Microsoft, the thing about Microsoft is you're dead in the middle of the month. You're an inside month, but you're dead in the middle. So if you go to the weekly, it's also an inside week. How do we get out of this, and do we stay out of that? So we'll let those numbers come out, but those are important levels. The inside week, the inside month. Is the earnings strong enough to break that and change that, or how does it close out the month based on what happens here? Google also reports on Tuesday, and Google's inside week and down and ran out of time. Didn't hit magnitude, because here's what we look for: the 3 outside, 1, 2. But we're looking to take this out, but it wasn't weak enough to do that. And so if you look at the monthly, let's see this. Potential rev strat month, 1, 2, and almost a 3. But if it doesn't get out of this mother bar, then these two become an inside 2-monther. And that's what we want to know about. And Google's closer to taking out the lows, right, so far. But earnings coming out, so we'll keep an eye on that. If we go to UPS, earnings also coming out on Tuesday. And UPS on the monthly, still can watch this, like so. How do you get out of here? I mean, it's been sideways, slightly higher for 3 months, or for 2 months off of that. And how do you get out of that? Something I want to know about. So if you go to the weekly, here, just been stuck in here. All right. It also tells us we'll see any sympathy move FedEx. Right. FedEx goes inside week, and we know on this monthly, we've been watching this forever. Going to be an inside month unless there's a big move. I'm watching this. Can it ever get it going back through here? So we'll see what happens with UPS earnings. If we go to Coke, and Coke monthly was 2 up, but then potential 3 down. And earnings coming out Tuesday, and the weekly here just slightly coming down, but stuck in the middle of all this range. So that tells us we can maybe get affected by the XLP. An XLP inside week, and look at this. 4 weeks of nothing in here, and so there's that, and it's also going to be an inside month, albeit closer to taking out the highs of the month. Let's go to Texas Instruments. Texas Instruments 2 down, back up, closer to being a 2-2 reversal on the month. Their earnings come out Tuesday as well. And here the question is, here's your week. What side do you take out of here? Because you can have a 3 here, right? The 3-2-2 up. So do you take this week out on the earnings and go boom, grow this broadening formation to the downside, or do you come up and take out this month's highs? Or I'm sorry, be closer to taking out this month's highs in the new month. That also tells us to look at SMH, which is very similar, and we've talked about that all month, or at least the last few weeks. We got Visa coming out, and Visa have been stuck in here, right? And so if you go to the monthly here, well, this is monthly, you can see it's just been stuck in a range for forever in here. How do you get out of that? What are you going to do? And so what we'd look for on the weekly, can you take, are the earnings strong enough or weak enough to take out this week? Because you had a volatile week pretty much, and you're stuck in the middle of it. So, and that would tell us to watch MA here, a little bit closer, it's about the middle. So we'll see how that goes. If we go to, oh yeah, GE, oh boy, and GE on the month, here, possible 3-monther, but you got some distance, but you're closer to taking out the highs of the month if it closes out, but it's a Tuesday, so you got some more on that. You're closer to taking out the highs of this week and coming back up through this stuff, coming into the earnings. But if you can take this out, that would get my attention too. So if we go to ENPH, Enphase, and stock in here, earnings come out as well. And do you take this out or do you take that out? That's what we want to know when these earnings come out. The monthly setting up a little closer to the upside, but we'll let those earnings come out because once again it was a Friday and we saw some profit taking where they bring them in outside day, right? You can see the higher highs and you can see the lower lows. So you can puking through here or trying to go staying near the highs. If we go to Wednesday, we got the Fed, so that's something you'd want to know about, right? We also have MetaBuddy coming out with earnings, and we know here on the monthly, inside month, right? And it's been in trouble, no higher highs in a while. Well, you got that 3 here, but if you go to the weekly, got hit. So potential rev strat week. Here, if we take this out, so when those earnings come out, I want to know this thing below 165.64. I'm like, otherwise, it's an inside month, and you still have a lot of distance to take that out, depending on how these earnings come out. So MetaBuddy is that inside month, so we'll see how that goes. Also on Wednesday, we got Shopify. Shopify's kind of been stuck down here, so 2-month tight pattern on here, and if you go to the weekly, slight inside week and up, you can see how tight this has been. So we really want to get out of this range. It would rev strat if it takes out the lows, but earnings coming out Shopify. If we go to Ford Motor Company, and Ford earnings on Wednesday as well, on the month, slight 2 down, so you got a chance at a 3 or a compound 3 because you're, once again, closer to taking out those highs of the month. We have Qualcomm. And Qualcomm, we know, is the 2-2 month. So that's good. Coming back through this range of Qualcomm can rip. However, you know, and you just have some exhaustion risk on the weekly. Because you got these lows, now you got these highs. The question is, can you come through all this kind of stuff? Qualcomm, right? So once again, to start off the week, before we set it up, a lot of these things are 2 up but red, and potential coming back down before that comes out. But we'll see. We also got Boeing on Wednesday, and a lot of things looking very similar today. The profit-takey day. And the monthly, once again, running out a month, but you are 2 down, 2 up month. And coming back through this range, I talked about this over and over again, this internal broadening formation that's completely inside of this month. So we'll see how that goes. If we go to LRCX, also on Wednesday, closer to being a 3-monther than a 2. And on the week, here, takes these guys out, and once again, if you can take that out, that would, this low, that would get my attention because you got the higher high and the lower low, and back down. Remember, we've been watching these outside weeks to take out 459.27. We did that handily, which was real nice on a lot of these SMHers. But the earnings coming out on Wednesday, and we'll see how that goes. If we go to Thursday, we got Roku. And Roku, real tight range in here too. What do they want to do with this thing? Would be a rev strat to the downside because this is inside and then a 2 up. If you go to the monthly, tight inside month. So the question is, how are we going to take out this month's highs or lows or this month's? Can this thing get anything going? But earnings coming out on Thursday. If we go to Intel, also coming out on Thursday, and Intel, like a lot of the semis, took out the lows and then rallied back a bit. A little tight though on this weekly here. So the question is, shoot her down back through these guys, or can you start to climb back up to set up the potential compound 3-month here? On the daily, once again, profit taking and inside day and down for the day. So we'll see how that opens and trades during the week, getting ready for that. Also, Amazon on the month is closer to taking out the monthly high, depending on, and you know, this is a Thursday, closer to taking this out or closing out here if it starts to fail. Go to the weekly, had a nice week here, that hammer week up, and some magnitude up into here. We're going to let that open and see how, we're going to let that news come out, I should say, and see how that goes. If we go to Valero, see this weekly just stuck in here. So we'll see how that goes, because you can have your monthly, and the things that are interesting about the monthly here is that there's a lot of energy coming into August that was outside on June, and then slight lower low here in July. And the question is, can you go 3-2-2 and get that energy rally going again? Right, that's what we want to know about, because we know energy's got those macro signals, and sometimes they're going to come in on the month. We just want to see how it sets up, because if you look at the daily, this thing's just going to chop at nothing in here. chop at nothing. But, like I said, in the monthly, if you go to XLE, here you can see that potential 3-2-2 to the upside on the month. And that would give us another macro signal to reconfirm those macro signals, which you'll have next weekend because it's coming up on a new month. And then we get into Friday and we start, all right, energy, here we go. There's Exxon trying to hammer on the month. And the week, just been doing nothing right here. But we want to see how that sets up coming into the new month and the earnings coming up. Chevron as well. And Chevron was just a slight 2 down, 2 up week, but you can see it's been stuck in here. But once again, a lot of these energies, monthlies, the 3-2-2, and that would make for a nice August. Might not make it a nice August for the pump, but could make it a nice August for us. The 3-2-2 potential PSX also coming out on Friday. So we'll see how that sets up going into the new month. But waiting on earnings, a lot of chop shop in here, as you can see. So we'll let them come out, and then we'll see, how all these things affect everything else in their sectors. And of course, Tesla's. And Tesla's a little profit-taking day. Not even a really profit, it's 2 up. It just backed off a little bit. And Tesla did take the 2-1-2 month up, right? But it's going to be a 2-month pattern. Most likely, you're not getting out of here. So that's something I'd want to know about. Most things, though, appear to be closing out closer to the monthly highs. That's good coming into August. But we've got the Fed, we've got all these earnings, and we're going to stay on this stuff, let them come out, and then we'll reevaluate, like I said, is exhaustion risk coming into the end of the month, and see how we close this week out. Because just like, something like Riven closed out here and had a rough day, almost wiped out the whole week. I talked about these in the Strat Time report. Could be RevStrat here and like MetaBuddy and all that kind of stuff. Anything can happen. We're just going to let it happen. And then we go into the new month. How many things are closer to taking out the inside months to the upside? How many things are closer to taking inside months to the downside? Or just the twos? How many things are closer to taking out the upside or the downside? So that's going to do it. We're going to let all these earnings come out, and we're going to see what the Fed has to say. That's going to do it for this week. I'm Rob Smith, Mr. Black. The weekend dead.